What is going on with my neck? Hi everybody, and welcome back to Plastic Models by a Regular Dude and an update video that I haven't done in quite a while. So here we go. So in this update, I'm just going to talk a little bit about what's going on the bench, what's coming up, just general info about the channel and stuff like that. So let's jump into what has been on the bench lately. So the first thing I want to talk about, I've been working on this one for a little while, and it's getting close to being complete. All of the majority of the assembly is complete, but I just need to do a few more little things, and then we can move on to weathering. It is the German 3.5 ton truck AHN with 3.7 centimeter Flak 37 anti-aircraft gun. What a mouthful. Now you may say, that kit looks kind of familiar. Well, it probably does if you've been following my channel for a little while, because that was one of the two kits up for consideration for the viewer's choice build I did recently. I posted up a poll, gave an option between this kit here and a Dragon 1/35 scale SDKFZ 251/21, I believe, which has the 3-barreled drilling, it's called, gun mount, and the Dragon kit won out. So I built that one. All that's been posted up on the channel. If this is your first time visiting and you want to see it, just click in my channel and you'll see it. So I figured I'd start this one. So this one here, I haven't posted any videos on it yet. However, it's almost done. So you're getting kind of a sneak peek here. So let's look at it. Here it is. This is the truck portion. It has been painted. It's ready for a gloss coat. A gloss coat? Why are you putting a gloss coat on it? Well, let me tell you. What I like to do when using Tamiya paints, which are ultra flat, I like to put a gloss coat on it before I do the pin wash, or if I do a sludge wash. And I'll explain those some other time. It just gives me better definition for the wash, especially along all the finer detail, because I have found in my experience and the way I do things, if I try and do a pin wash on Tamiya's ultra flat paint, then the wash tends to kind of diffuse into the flat surface around where I'm putting the wash in or wash on, and I don't get a really good delineation and stark contrast like I like. So I do a clear gloss, then I do the wash, whatever type I'm using, and then I'll do a flat coat on it, and then I'll go on with the rest of my weathering. If there's decals involved, well, there's not in this case, but if there's decals involved, I'll do those before I do the wash, then I'll do the flat, then I can go on with final weathering with pigments and whatever else, other oil work, whatever I'm doing. So anyway, this still needs to have a gloss coat. The gun and trailer has had the gloss coat put on it and the wash. So this is ready to go for a flat coat and then final weathering. But I'm going to wait to do the flat coat till I'm ready to do the flat coat on the truck. So that is what's going on with that. However, I am going to set it aside for a little while because I need to start a different project, just to maintain the creative juices, because I normally have two kits going at the same time, generally an aircraft kit and a wheeled or tracked kit. That way I can switch back and forth so I don't become bored with one or the other. And that can happen. It does with me. I may not to everybody. Some people are very well disciplined. I used to be, but I need to switch off. So that's what I'm going to do with this. I'm going to set this one aside and start on this next kit. Trumpeter 1/72nd scale British Gannet AS Mark 1/4. That again is another kit that Keith Short gave to me. I'm slowly whittling that pile down, but he gave me that kit, and it's a unusual kit or a unusual aircraft. It's got a double prop on it. It's got a double prop on it. It's just kind of a strange looking aircraft. It's got this weird crew member position back there, and then two up here. Just really unusual aircraft. And he gave that to me and said, "Hey, here, build this." And I said, "Okay, I will." And that's what I'm going to do. That's the next one I'm going to start. I've got an introduction video stewing on the old computer that I'm going to post up for that shortly after this intro video or this update video here. But that'll be the next kit I'm going to work on, just to do something a little bit different. It's a subject I've never even considered building. I don't do that much RAF, and I definitely don't do much mini aircraft from the 50s, and that's what this is from. But I figured, hey, this will be something pretty fun to build, and there's not a whole lot of parts, so it shouldn't be that difficult of a build to do. So that's the next one I'm going to build, and maybe I should talk a little bit more about why I run two kits at the same time. So as I said, I have that truck that's almost done, and I'm setting it aside to work on this British Gannet. Now, the reason I do this, and it's popped up from time to time in different social media outlets, whether it be Facebook or YouTube videos or whatever, but apparently I'm not the only person that does this kind of thing, because sometimes when building a kit, especially a long-term kit, for some people, not everybody, it can start to become a little bit of a slog, especially when you get into parts that you're not really that stoked about. So for example, there are people who like to get into the paint and weathering aspect of kits. Okay, I'm going to bring up a name, as a matter of fact, because he seems to be this way. Duke's Models. He has a YouTube channel. His name is Matt, and he really, really, really digs the painting and especially the weathering aspect of a build. So his criteria for a kit, it seems to me, from what I've watched and read, he likes a kit that goes together without a bunch of faffing about. Not a bunch of filling, not a bunch of having to tweak things to get it to work. He just wants the thing to go together well and look good when he's done building it. That way he can get on to painting and weathering, the part he really, really enjoys. And that is perfectly legitimate. That is something I can totally, well, not totally, but I can relate to. That's what he enjoys about a kit. So he doesn't want a kit that's not going to fit together well and is going to give him a bunch of grief, because he wants to get onto the part he likes. Sometimes that can take a long time, and if you're building a kit that's not building the way you want it and it's just kind of difficult, you're going to get to the point where you're just going to toss it aside and say forget it. It becomes what's known in the hobby as a shelf queen. So that is where my style comes in. The building part, I love the building part. The painting part, I really enjoy the painting part, especially if it's an interesting color scheme, say on an aircraft. I like that, or a camouflage scheme on a armored vehicle or whatever. The weathering stuff, I do it, and I can do it okay, and usually whenever I'm done and I step back and look at something, I'm like, hey, I like that. It turned out to my satisfaction. Other people may look at it and say, oh, that's not that great, but it turns out okay. An example would be the B-25 by Monogram and the B-17 by Monogram that I built in recent months. Both 1/48 scale kits, the older kits, classic kits. They do take some work, seams, stuff like that, but in the end I was really stoked. But just sometimes just thinking about the weathering part of it, it's just like, oh man, I'm just like, I'm not feeling it. Well, just punch through. Well, that's to the stage I am with that German 3.5 ton truck. It's painted. Primary assembly is complete with the exception of some little small parts. So I need to go on to the weathering aspect of it. And I think for me, the reason that is the case is because building, you have instructions. You may run into stuff you have to manipulate or modify or overcome, but it's pretty straightforward. Boom, 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 boom. Building, building, building. You know, even if I'm scratch building something, it's I have a technique to get through it. Then the paint, same thing. You have these colors go on this aircraft or vehicle. So it's a matter of painting, masking, spraying, detail painting, all that kind of stuff. I have a method for that. Weathering, every time I weather, everything I've done before in weathering, I have forgotten. It doesn't stick. It doesn't stick as a process. And that may be a good thing, that may be a bad thing. Maybe a good thing because it keeps everything looking so same. But it's also frustrating because it's like, what did I do to do this? I don't take notes. You know, I guess I could check my videos, but even those are horrible when it comes to weathering. I'm not that concise. You know, when I'm doing a build, I'm like this, and this. This is how you do it. This is how I paint it. Whatever. Easy. But when it comes to weathering, sometimes I'll just get caught up in it and I'll do it, and then it's like, oh man, I haven't done. So it's like, oh, this is what I did on this, you know, from what I can remember on the video for the kid, the weathering part of it. So it's just not one of those things. So all that said, that's why I like having a couple of kits going at the same time, because once I get to the point where it's like, I'm starting to get a little bit not too stoked with this project, put it aside, start on something else. And I limit myself to 2 kits. I don't get more than 2 kits in that kind of a process. That way I don't end up with a whole bunch of unbuilt or partially built stuff. So I'm going to skip over this airplane. I'll work on this. Get the creative juices going again. I'll look up and say, okay, I'm ready to do the clear and some weathering on that truck, because it's right here on the shelf right above my workspace. That way it's not out of sight, out of mind. It's right there, ready to go. Okay, so you got all that? So that's why I am putting that one aside and building the aircraft next. So just in case anybody thinks, well, man, I just don't want to finish this project, it's horrible. Don't. Put it on the shelf. Come back to it later, work on another project. And like this Gannett, there's not a whole lot of parts. So it's not going to be that big of an ordeal to start working on that and get all just sucked into that. It should be a pretty straightforward build from what I've read. So there you go. That's why I do that. Hopefully all that blabbing was helpful to anybody that might be on the fence about doing that kind of thing, or if they just get bored with the project and they feel bad about it, because there's people that's like, I just feel horrible because I got this kit, it's just sitting there and it's not, and it stops them completely from building anything. Well, no, just move on to another project. Don't feel bad about it. It's your stuff. You can do what you want with it. So set it aside, work on something else, and then get back to it when you feel the creativeness back. So hopefully that's helpful for some of you people. So enough of that. Let's move on to something else. All right. So what else is going on around here? You're going to be seeing a little bit more of this little dude right here. I was thinking about it the other day. I'm feeling a little nostalgic. I thought, you know what? I need to bust this baby out. Use this. It is my Paasche H airbrush set. My mother-in-law got this for me a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. And I used to use this for everything. This was the only airbrush I had. And it's a good airbrush. It's a workhorse. They've been around forever for a reason. I'm not going to be doing any fine detail work or anything, but I figure for single colors and clear coats, boom, this would be a good one. It's easy to clean. I like, this may sound weird to some people, I like the way it feels in my hand for using it. For some crazy reason, now this may not be an issue for some people, but I think as the years advance and the old eyeballs aren't what they used to be, these kind of things become more important. But I use this for single color stuff. It's a single action and it works really well. I really like this airbrush. It's easy to clean, easy to use. But I have noticed that it is hard to see the paint coming out of the nozzle on that thing. So when I'm spraying, and it doesn't matter what I do with my lighting, it's like for some reason I can't see to aim to make sure I'm not blowing past the part I'm trying to spray. It may sound weird, but that's the way it is. It's hard to see sometimes the paint coming out of that airbrush. Don't know why. Not so with this. I can see it with this. And I've got the 3-line nozzle on it. Now I don't remember what the numbers are, but that's the one I use the most. It's kind of a, I'd say it blows out more than say a 0.4, which is what this shoots, and definitely more than the 3.5 that this shoots. So I don't know what this is throwing out, but I think it's a little bit bigger than the 0.4, I think. But the big thing is this works good for blowing like larger areas. It works good. So I think I'm gonna start using this a little bit more, just because it's got a quick release, just like my other. It's an adapter that goes from Paasche to an Iwata hose, which is what I have, or an Iwata quick release. Since I have 2 Iwata brushes there, this Paasche usually has a different fitting, but this one they make an adapter, and that's what I got. So I can just change it, boom. And if I need to throw down with a lot of material, ta-da! I got these bottles here. And what's nice is I have extra bottles, and I can put paint in them and seal them up, and they're good to go for a little while. So if I'm doing a big project like that B17, for instance, this does a good job. So look for that a little bit more, and look for a airbrush video coming up. I'm going to talk about soon. I've already got the preliminary stuff done. I'm going to do a series of videos on paint and airbrushes. Airbrushes, basically I'm just going to talk about the kind I use and why, how I clean them, and how often or how not often I clean them. And just talk about airbrushes and stuff, because boy, I tell you, I don't know everything, but I look on stuff like Facebook, and the misinformation that flows on that place is incredible. And I'm going to talk about that next. Facebook misinformation. Hopefully I'll remember to put chapters, and I will clearly list out what these segments are all talking about, so you can skip to the stuff you want. But I check out not a whole awful lot of Facebook pages. I've whittled mine down to ones that I thoroughly enjoy and I don't mind taking part in. But the misinformation that just is rampant on those things is incredible. Now, I don't know everything, not even close. But some of the stuff that people say is incredible. It's just insane. And I'll talk about that on those videos. But airbrushes come up a lot. And it's just a matter of people just giving the wrong information. For example, I'll just give you one example. How often do you guys clean your airbrushes? Mine always seems to be messed up. So you get the people that say, I never clean my airbrush. Never have the need to do it. My airbrushes work like a champ, and I never clean them, other than just to blow them out after I'm done with the session. Okay, that's cool. Fair game. Then you get other people. It's like you need to tear that thing down completely after every time you use it. Otherwise, it ain't going to work right. That is ridiculous. That is insane, and that is completely untrue. Now, I don't know. If people like doing that, that's fine. But don't say it's necessary when it's not. Because, and I'll get into this stuff when I talk about the airbrushes on the videos, it's not necessary to do that much tearing down and cleaning. Maybe it doesn't hurt, but it's not necessary. And the more you tear things completely down, the more risk there is for losing parts or damaging parts. Okay, I'll talk about that and how I do things. The way I do things is not the only way, and it's not necessarily the right way, but it's the way I do it, and it works, and I can guarantee you that my airbrushes are ready for use at all times. All times. I can pick up an airbrush and boom. And the way I paint, if I had to tear my airbrush down after every single time I used it, I'd give this hobby up, or I wouldn't use an airbrush. I'd just build bare plastic models and just that would be it. Because I will spark up my airbrush to paint 4 little small parts. That's just the way I work. And because the paints I use probably has something to do with it, but they're easy to clean up and all that. So there's that. Then there's, cleaning. It's like, oh, you only need, you only need a thimbleful. If you don't know what a thimble is, then just look it up. But you only need a thimbleful of cleaner. Pour it in there, slosh it around, tip it away, spray it. You're done. This product is awesome. Wrong. Wrong. And I'll talk about that on the airbrush segments as well. So look forward to that, because I'm going to talk about stuff. And I may step on some toes, but you know what? The misinformation highway needs a detour. And I'm going to do my part. All right, so anyway, there's going to be some of that stuff coming up. Airbrushes, paint, all that kind of stuff. What other projects do I have coming up? Well, I think the next vehicle I'm going to do, I've got a couple more German vehicles I want to get out of the way, because I want to move away from German vehicles for a while. I've built a lot of them, partly because people have given them to me, and I appreciate every last one of them, and I enjoy them. It's just I built a lot of them, and I think I need to switch over and build some other stuff, like some American stuff. Shermans. I love Shermans. I haven't built one in a long time, and I've got one sitting in there that's just like hollering at me, and I just haven't done it. But that's coming up. But some British vehicles. I'd like to get into some like really ultra early war, like French tanks and stuff like that. There's just a lot of them I want to do. So I'm going to build the last couple of German kits I have, and then throw the brakes on German vehicles for a while, move over to Allied stuff. Maybe even some Japanese stuff. That'd be cool. So anyway, other than this Gannett, I really don't have any specific plans for any projects coming up. I've got a few that I want to get on sooner than later. One of them being a pretty involved 1/32 scale Revell of Germany BF 109G10. Got a lot of aftermarket for it, and this is going to be a huge step that I will probably never take again for aftermarket stuff. But that one should be coming up in the not too distant future. Also have some World War I aircraft. I've got another, I can't remember the brand. I think it's but I think the aircraft, it's a World War I biplane, a Newport, I believe. But then I've also got 2 Wingnut Wings aircraft from the recent batch that flooded the market. I got the 2 I wanted, and I'm stoked. So those will be coming up, probably winter projects. So anyway, yeah, I think that's pretty much it for what's coming up. Gannett for sure, then we'll see what happens from there. Alright, well, I think that is going to be just about it. I don't want to talk about format changes to the way I do my videos, because I change all the time. Sometimes I do full build, sometimes I do partial build, sometimes I do ultra condensed, just like 3-parter. I did all these steps, last night, and here's quick 10 minutes talking about it. So it's going to be dependent on the kit. I foresee the Gannett being kind of a build review kind of thing. I'm not going to go step by step, but it's not going to be ultra short. I'll talk a little bit about it, do some building and stuff like that, but try and keep them shorter, more concise, and not as many parts. But from kit to kit, it's going to vary. I tried going one format or another format or this format. It just depends on the kit, so I've given up on just trying to stick with one format. So hopefully you guys like variety. Variety is the spice of life, as they say. So yeah. Alright, I don't know how long this video is going to be. Probably way too long. A lot of blabbing. So I will really try and put chapter markers in the description. So if you don't want to hear about a certain thing, if you're like, oh, I want to hear about this, airbrush stuff, you can click to that. Or if you can say, you know what, I've heard the intro, I just want to see the end, you can skip all the stuff in the middle. But at least watch some of it. You might find something interesting. So anyway, that's about it, I think. Yeah, that's it. So that is almost mid-September 2023 update, recap, what's coming up video. So hopefully you'll stick around for the Gannett, see how that turns out. Hopefully you will watch for the first drop of the truck videos, which I haven't done yet, that you already know almost all you need to know about it. But there is some stuff in there you might want to watch, so you can check that out. You can check my channel and just find like a subject you're interested in, and maybe watch some of that stuff. So if you liked the video, hit the like button. If you didn't like the video, I guess you can hit the unlike or dislike thing, but I don't know if that really does anything anymore. Somebody said, it's like it's still there, but it doesn't really count against you or for you on your channel. So maybe it's just for the people who like to be mean. It's, I dislike that. Doesn't hurt my feelings. If you have any comments, put them in the comments section down below. Questions, suggestions, stuff you'd like to see on videos, let me know, because I'm a pretty accommodating chap. Yeah, so I think that'll do it. So thanks for watching this edition of Plastic Models by a Regular Dude in this update. And until next time, auf Wiedersehen.